Today we pair the Blott House by Robin Boyd with an Australian opera aria by Melbourne composer Stuart Greenbaum. Robin Boyd was a leader in Australia's modern architecture movement, a visionary in urban design, and outspoken on the case for an Australian identity. Robin Boyd's focus was domestic. Around 100 homes were built from his designs.
Robin Boyd was an interesting one in terms of, and he pushed, he pushed just like great opera pushes, but he would push things really to the limit, and he wasn't afraid to tell people what he thought about the past. Look, I think that period where Robin Boyd was designing in the 1950s was a very interesting period, because up until then, everything was quite derivative of the Georgian style, very English, like the 40s, 30s, 40s. The modern movement was interrupted by the war. So basically the 50s was the post-war period was very strong, particularly in Melbourne, and Robin Boyd was obviously in a very enviable position where he could talk about contemporary architecture as well as build contemporary architecture. So when the Blott House came to that street in the mid-50s, I think it was 56, neighbours would have been talking. It wasn't the usual design. It had an angular roof, but it wasn't pitched, and the windows were kind of fitted into the form of the roof, and it would have been considered very dramatic. And it wasn't. It wasn't an over-the-top. It was quite modest at the time, but it was the ideas of orientating all those windows to the sun, and at the time that would have been very radical, because people have said, "Oh God, you can see into their living room, or that you can see into their kitchen," but why not be part of the streetscape? They've got a native garden that kind of gives them that protection. But isn't it about being part of a community? So you can see his work very clearly now. A lot of it has become heritage listed, and it's lovely when you see something that is quite pure. So I think what he's very good at, he strips back. He's very good at stripping things back and celebrating the important things of a site. And it is also very Australian architecture. I think that's what excites people still today, that when you walk through a Robin Boyd house, it speaks something of the Australian bush. And that could be whether it's in the Yarra Valley or whether it's, in urban Melbourne or wherever it is. I think that was the other lovely thing about his work and architects working from that period. It wasn't pretentious. It wasn't screaming for attention from the street. I suppose it's like going into, it's the anticipation of a great opera, where even before the curtain comes up, you're not quite sure what to expect. And then you walk in and you go, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." And it just opens up. And that's what great design and architecture does. It's not about just screaming for attention, wanting to be heard. That's not, anyone can do that. It's actually knowing how to express the moments and deliver that, that response, whether it's architecture or opera, the small inflections in turns in a corridor, or that's really what it's about.
Stuart Greenbaum is an Australian composer and head of composition at the University of Melbourne. The writing in this piece is sparse, but solid and sure, with a simplicity that makes it both unsettling and hauntingly beautiful. Stuart said his influences are Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Pat Metheny, Schubert, and Arvo Pärt.
Wished child, follow the night star stealing through waterland, hollow through wickets away feeling, and sleep, and sleep. For tomorrow's
Lullaby from the opera Nelson by Melbourne composer Stuart Greenbaum was performed by Jessica Harper with Glenn Amer on piano. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Ariarchitecture number 4.